My name's Joshua Ball, and I was initiated into Bradford Lodge number 123 on July 27th of 2018, which was my 18th birthday actually, and my experience and being initiated into Lodge was quite unlike any other people's in the fact that every officer of the initiation team was a member of the family except for the secretary and treasurer, which was funny for me in a lot of ways, because as I was going around the lodge and going to the different stations and hearing everybody say their part, it was a familiar voice. So from what I've heard of a lot of other people where that was a scary experience, for me it was almost humorous in a way, because it was very familiar voices, very familiar people that were instructing me in my first steps into Masonry. So it was a very unique experience, but it was a lot of fun. My grandfather was the sitting master. He was the secretary of Bradford at the time, and he's the treasurer now, and my father was actually the senior warden, and he's a past master of Bradford. So it was a great experience on that front, and going through the different degrees too was fun because the familial steps continued in that way. So I had a great experience going into the lodge, and it was a lot of fun for me, but it was definitely unique. The biggest influence for me in becoming a Mason is very connected to my initiation story, with a lot of it being family. I'm a 5th generation Mason on my dad's side, and I'm a 4th generation Mason on my mom's side. So there is a lot of family connection there as to why I wanted to join the lodge in the first place. But I think the interesting thing for me is that it was never something that was forced upon me. It was never something that was expected of me. I just saw so many members of my family, whether direct family or outside family, everybody that I respected in the men were Masons, and it was something that I wanted to be a part of and see the other side of the door, for lack of a better term, because my dad was the master of Bradford Lodge when I was only 2 years old. So I kind of grew up in this exact building, and I was able to see a lot of the men that they respected in my family and grew to respect myself. And when it got to be time for me to be 18 years old, there's nothing I wanted more for myself than to join the lodge. And it was, a big thing that I'm proud of, and being able to do that. So for my career, I work in ministry, so I am actually just finished up my ministry education. I was at 4C Ministry Institute, where I studied general ministry and theology, and I've spent the last couple years doing residencies, and I was actually hired on to staff at a church as their technical director, but I was also able to serve as the worship minister for a few months at my time at the church that I was previously at. And a big part of my life story is ministry and my general faith as well. So the connection of those two as a vocational thing, it's a big part of my life. Outside of Freemasonry, I am a big baseball fanatic. I try to watch every Reds game that I possibly can, and even if it's not a Reds game, I love watching baseball in general. That's where I spend a lot of my time, if I have it, is going to the TV in the evenings and watching a ball game. And even outside of baseball, I love sports in general. I will watch pretty much anything that's on for the most part because I just love seeing the pro athletes compete at a high level. There's just something about it that I find so interesting and so fascinating. But even outside of sports, I love music too. I'm a musician myself. And from my time in middle school and high school, I was kind of developed as a musician in the concert bands and the different musical backgrounds like that. And even now I play guitar and I travel with different worship groups so that way we can go to different camps and churches and provide worship for them if they can't provide it themselves. So music, sports, a big part of my interest and things that I love to do outside of the lodge. So before I even joined the lodge, I was a member of the Northern Kentucky DMLA chapter right here at Bradford Lodge in Independence, Kentucky. And I actually joined when they weren't at Bradford. They were still at the Scottish Rite Temple in Covington. I was 13 years old, getting ready to turn 14. I was close. And you could actually join at 12, but I waited a little bit. But I joined because my dad is a senior DMLA from Northern Kentucky chapter, and it was something that, unlike Lodge, it was a bit more expected of me to join at some point. But I did end up joining DMLA, and I very quickly had a great experience with it. I had a good chapter. It was a smaller chapter when I did join, but we were able to go on the conclave kind of stops. They did a spring one, the annual one in the summer, and then one in the fall. My first one was in the summer, and I loved getting to see all the older DMLAs, the 18 through 21-year-olds. I looked up to them a lot, and being around them and having that time really expedited my experience to a really big capacity, and I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more within DMLA. So from the time I was 14 to 21, I was really active in the state. I was the state master counselor. I went in 2019. I went out in 2020, and that was a big part of my Masonic development, but I loved it because it was a little taste of Lodge before I got into Lodge, and I got to do a lot of things, go to a lot of different lodges and kind of connect with them in a pseudo-Masonic capacity. And I was able to be at Most Worshipful Past Grey Master Gary Rose's Grand Lodge Communications, which was special to me. He was a big influence in me wanting to be a Mason in the first place because he was active with the DMLA state of Kentucky. So it was a big part of my general teenage years because that was where I was kind of Masonically influenced a lot. So how DMLA prepared me for Lodge, just in general Freemasonry, was really impactful in the specifics because it was expected at the DMLA level, whether it was in the chapter or at the jurisdictional or state level where I was the state master counselor, ritualistic proficiency was expected, and I was taught pretty young how to be active within my ritual book and study my part and show up to the lodges and chapter meetings prepared to do the part that I was assigned to do. And that was something that carried really well when I was in Lodge, but it also prepared me for the general public speaking that's expected within the Lodge, how to conduct a business meeting, or just how to conduct yourself in a generally Masonic capacity, because there are similarities in the general teachings and what's expected of you and how to carry yourself outside the Lodge room or the DMLA chapter room. It was very continuous in the general teachings, and it helped me prepare me a lot to be a good Mason. So upon becoming a Freemason, I was actually pretty surprised as to what I learned and what I saw on the other side of the doors, because I grew up around it and I saw a lot of what Masons did, but because I wasn't in it, I wasn't a part of it, I had a lot of questions as to what it was. And once I did turn 18 and was able to see what was on the other side of the door and learn as to what the men do, and even now at 23 years old, I'm still surprised as to what I've learned because there's so much in depth as to how men prepare themselves on their day-to-day lives in a Masonic capacity to uphold their obligations and to continue the teachings that Masonry provides them. And that was something that I was really surprised of because I didn't really have any expectations as to what it would be, but it still exceeded any expectations that I have, and I was surprised as to what I learned about it by being in it and And I mean that in the best way possible. I love what I continue to learn about the fraternity of Freemasonry. What I like most about Freemasonry is the brotherhood of my lodge at Bradford. And I saw a lot of the relationships that my dad and my grandfathers made in their time at this lodge and other lodges, and how they communicated with one another. And that's something that I wanted to have for myself and experience for myself, because I've loved those people and respected them from afar from a young age. And as I've gotten into the lodge and have become more active, I just love the people that I get to do Freemasonry with. And it's so great getting to be a part of everybody's lives. It's fun for me. I think if I could change anything about Freemasonry as it stands now, I think I would just change the general perception that we have within our lodges, that we need to have people that are ready for Freemasonry and look the part and act the part when they come into our doors. Just because I think I look at my testimony of my time as a Freemason, because I had members of the lodge that were willing to kind of work with me and kind of take me as I was and help grow me in a Masonic capacity. And that helped develop me into being a proud Mason and doing what I believe to be a Masonic life on a day-to-day basis. And I think it can sometimes scare away people when we say, hey, well, you need to come in with a suit and tie, you need to look a certain way and act a certain way, and that can be intimidating. So I think changing the stigma about what we expect from new members or young members would be a great way of enhancing the Masonic experience for a lot of new members. When I think about what I want my legacy to be in my life, I think a lot of it in the perspective of who I am as a minister and a child of God, and I also think of it as a Freemason. And I kind of bridge those two because I want my legacy to be as just a servant. I want to serve the people of God's kingdom. I want to serve the same communities that our lodges serve, because we're all looking to make the kingdom and the world around us a better place. And I really think that within the lodge, it helps equip me and do what I do in my ministry so much better. And I just want people to look back at my time here on earth, whenever that time ceases to be, as a servant. I just want to give to those who have given to me, and also give to those who aren't able to provide for themselves. That's a big part of why I do what I do in a Masonic and a personal capacity. So that's what I want my legacy to be.